All right, guys. Cheers to the weekend. It's a Coke Zero. And congratulations. Just congratulations if you are a quantum investor, because this week has been absolutely insane. Quantum has been red hot, like egg on an Arizona sidewalk in the middle of summer hot. There seems to be catalyst after catalyst after catalyst. And there's excitement, and there's a market backdrop of rate cut. We're in a rate cut cycle, and these are all small cap stocks. And we're also starting to hear some potential news and some exciting announcements, even from the White House, about potentially an executive order around quantum. So we're going to talk about the red hot sector. We're going to speculate a little bit about what this executive order could entail. I looked at this article, and there is actually a connection in the White House to someone who specifically worked in the quantum industry. So very exciting. And again, just cheers. Enjoy moments like this. When you're getting your burger this weekend, go for the milkshake. You only live once. Treat yourself. And today we're just covering quantum stocks because a lot of them ripped to the upside. We saw QUBT, Quantum Computing Inc., jump 27% in one day. We're going to look at quantum stocks today, including Rigetti, which had a 15% day. I have a lot planned today. We're going to look at news and a bunch of these quantum stocks. I'm going to give you some price levels and how I'm thinking about all of this. We're going to look at Quantum Computing Inc., SEALSQ, Rigetti, D-Wave, ARQit Quantum, and of course, IonQ, the one who started all of this momentum. So before we jump in, do me a huge favor, leave a like. If you're inclined, subscribe, and let's jump in. So looking at the quantum watch list today, unbelievable moves across quantum. And there just has been this incredible momentum for the last 6 or 7 trading days. And we're seeing some of these quantum stocks start to really gain steam, including Quantum Computing Inc., who had been a laggard in this space, just had a 27% day. LAES, a lot of investors were very frustrated with SEALSQ and complaining. And this was $2.50 not too long ago. Rigetti, another 15% day. The stock just keeps pushing up. I think at one point in the market day, it was at 29. And D-Wave is just steadily marching up. We're going to look at all those charts, ARQit and IonQ as well. You'd think the whole stock market would be on fire and every single one of these boxes on the stock heat map would be green. That's not the case. It was kind of mixed, actually. We see that health and technology was red. And not every Mag 7 was deep green. In fact, Amazon and Meta barely eked out a gain or a loss. NVIDIA had a fairly flat day. Apple had a good day and Oracle had a good day, and Palantir continues its rally. So the Dow, S&P 500 and the Nasdaq closed at record highs for the second day in a row as tech and trade headlines lift markets. So what we had early in the day was we had Trump and Xi speaking on the phone, and we didn't really know if that was going to result in Trump coming on Truth Social and saying China isn't cooperating. We're going to have to rethink our approach. But I think both parties, the US and China, know that the stakes for both economies are very high. It looked like they were amenable to each other as they spoke about in-person meetings, the transition of TikTok, and meeting each other actually in China, and Xi coming to the US for a visit. So pretty impressive. That would be amazing to see some easing US-China relations. The Trump administration, so this was the headline of the day and what moved quantum. And quantum has already been moving. We've had the Quantum World Congress this week. We had IonQ Analyst Day last Friday. It feels like an eternity ago. IonQ last Friday was a $48 stock, and it closed today at $70 a share. So what we're seeing here, and kind of what I wanted to talk to you guys about, is this Trump administration's planning a quantum computing strategy expansion. So we haven't had an official announcement, as far as I know. This is speculation, but the Trump administration is mapping out an expansive overhaul of the US quantum computing strategy. citing multiple industry executives and former national security officials familiar with the matter. The initiative could involve executive orders and a comprehensive national action plan modeled after the administrator's July AI strategy. So they want to do the same thing they did for AI, like the Stargate project for AI. They want to do that for quantum. Sources told Cyberscoop that the White House is considering mandating federal agencies to accelerate their adoption of post-quantum cryptography protections in anticipation of a future where quantum computers may crack current encryption methods. Government interest is being driven jointly by the White House Office of Science and Technology and the Department of Commerce. Everyone in the quantum industry from a policy standpoint has been told some variation of the message that the White House wants to do for quantum what they did for AI. The former DOE official and current Commerce Deputy Secretary Paul Dabar is reportedly leading much of the effort on the government side. Dabar launched a quantum networking startup after his initial stint in government. So Dabar actually has a connection to quantum and is seen as a key figure in pushing the initiative forward across both research and commercial. US policymakers are reacting not just to the projected timeline of quantum breakthroughs, but to the national security risks they pose. So it got me thinking, as I read this news, that did Trump's visit to the UK get the US thinking even more strategically about quantum? Because we know that in that tech pact, the UK was very serious about quantum. And in the IonQ acquisition of Oxford Ionics, they only let that happen so long as the intellectual property stayed in the UK, and the UK would continue to have oversight over Oxford Ionics because they consider it an issue of national security. So that's something we've been talking about a lot on this channel since we've been doing this. And quantum and post-quantum cybersecurity is going to be a very real thing, especially for federal systems, banks, finance systems. So the efforts to harden federal cybersecurity infrastructure have been in motion for more than a decade, with federal contractors pushed to replace legacy public key encryption with more resilient post-quantum algorithms. If finalized, federal action could have significant downstream effects for quantum firms like Rigetti, IonQ, D-Wave, and Quantum Computing Inc. Do those sound familiar? So that's where we are. We're in this situation where IonQ had Analyst Day. They brought a lot of exciting announcements forward. Not only that, IonQ had multiple acquisitions of very promising companies, especially Oxford Ionics, and they recently had also acquired Capella Space, recently the sensing company as well. So we're seeing that quantum in general is picking up this incredible momentum. And we have started obviously in 2025 with a crash in this sector. So in 2024, a lot of this hype bubble and the parabolic increase that you can see in the charts, immediately that rug was pulled. And now investors have slowly been coming back into quantum. I don't think this happened overnight. In fact, the chart shows that this has been a slow and steady buildup to the breakout of these quantum stocks. So it's hard to say that this is a breakout of any individual quantum stock at this point, but more a breakout of the sector and an understanding that there is an importance to quantum computing for the future of our country, for the future of computing, for commercial purposes, security purposes. And we're seeing that legislative bodies like the UK and US, we saw at the G7 where they had lots of language around quantum as well, that there is an understanding around the world that this is coming and it may be coming sooner than people are ready for. So that's kind of what we're seeing materialize here. And an executive order would be massive because the executive order would be massive because a lot of the bills like the National Quantum Reauthorization Act would likely be pushed forward. So there's some quantum funding bills that have been hanging out in Congress and haven't been pushed through. So something like an executive order would help get those through quickly. Also, there'd be an influx potentially of new money from the government and new contracts from the government that would help support the efforts and accelerate the build out of these companies. giving them more financial resources, more personnel, more scientists, more whatever you can think of. Because if Trump and the United States want to be first in quantum, they have to invest in it. They have to understand what it is, and they have to make it a priority. And we've actually said those exact words in different ways on this channel many times. So it is great to see it. And if anyone knows anyone in the Trump administration specifically that's working on this, that would like to come and talk to kind of our community, reach out to me, Majid at the Quantum Bull, and let's get them on the show and let's talk about this. All right, let's take a look at the stocks and what the stocks have been doing. So we're going to start with IonQ, because IonQ and the Analyst Day was, of course, kind of what started this breakout for the whole sector. And this was when IonQ was about $44 a share. We're looking at weekly candles here, unbelievable bullishness. We're going to go to hour candles here and see kind of what's been going on more recently. So we had that big breakout, and now we closed at $70 a share. And really, the frustrating thing I know for a lot of investors that may have exited IonQ or given up on IonQ is it bounced around between 36 and 48 for a long time. And then suddenly the breakout starts and the price discovery starts. So where does it go from here? And that's what we're trying to kind of figure out on this channel. And we're trying to figure out as quantum investors is, okay, when there's pullback, when there's red days, when is the buying going to start again? We know people are going to hit the sell button and take profits, but what support levels are there? And what is the appetite for quantum beyond a week or two of this hype cycle that it's been put into? And that's what I'm very curious about as well. So I can show you the chart. I can show you that it's going up. I think we all know that at this point. And I give you kind of the same answer that I've given you this week. We don't know where it's going from here. It's in price discovery. We've seen stocks like Palantir and Tesla run on a piece of news or rumor of a piece of news. And IonQ seems like it could start moving maybe more like a Palantir of quantum, where it's starting to be taken over by the institutions and they're pushing it around and up and down. And we're just going to have to see it. It's going to get harder and harder for the retail investor to make a meaningful investment when it's $70 plus per share. QUBT, Quantum Computing Inc. So probably the weakest financially, and the quantum company that's publicly traded that needs to work on their PR and building trust with investors the most, had a 23% day. So this was one of the best candles they've ever had, except for the euphoria in November of last year. They're trading at now $23 a share. They've blasted through this $21 resistance, and they were actually the winner of the day. And they're working on something very interesting. They're working on the light-based photonic quantum computing, which is room temperature and is very promising. Keep Quantum Computing Inc. on your radar as a dark horse in this race, because no one really knows how this is all going to play out. Okay, Rigetti Quantum Computing. So Rigetti has had a phenomenal week. So if we just look back to Monday to where we closed today, Rigetti has moved 50%. 50%. People could stay invested in a major index and wait years and years and years and years to see a 50% return. And Rigetti has given investors that return in a week. And it's been as I've said, there's a lot of things going on that are contributing to that. Of course, the rate cut cycle, Analyst Day, Quantum World Congress, and now we have this potential executive order. A lot of things going on. And then Rigetti itself, of course, got a new contract, and they've released their 36 qubit chip on schedule. So Rigetti has been one that I've been loving lately as a quantum investor, and I wish I even bought more. And I still have some open calls. I'll kind of tell you guys about this call, because I did give a trade alert on the Discord, and I loaded up on $15 calls way back when Rigetti was down here. And I've been kind of selling them off. And recently I've slowed down, even though they're very much in the money. Like we're talking 300, 400% gains. And I'm starting to think about, well, long term, do I want to own the underlying shares at $15? And that's the nice thing about an option is they expire in January of 2026. So I have some time to think about it. And I'm fully expecting pullback. I'm fully expecting some volatility from here with these quantum stocks. Will we get the buying opportunity again to purchase Rigetti for $15 or lower? I don't know. Like I thought when I sold a bunch of my D-Wave at $12 or $13 that we were going to have another buying opportunity. It never came. So it's very tricky to try to predict the future, especially for an emerging technology. I think that's what's very difficult about all of this, where the valuation seems detached from reality and we're pricing in what could be, but that's what the market does, right? It's forward looking. It gives a price tag based on potential. And again, with Rigetti, we're in this kind of question mark. Where does it go from here? So we know that Rigetti this year has the 100 qubit system that they're going to release. And that's going to be a huge catalyst. That's going to be the biggest multi-chip hardware available to the public, chiplet-based hardware. That's coming in just a couple months for Rigetti. So that's priced in kind of, but I don't think the wider market understands that Rigetti has already released a new chip and they're planning to deliver another chip. And I would anticipate on time as well. So that could be a huge catalyst for the stock in 2026. Okay, D-Wave Quantum. So D-Wave, you guys know that earlier this year, I went to D-Wave's conference. I went back in February when this was a $6 stock. It is now a $27 stock. It's unbelievable to see what type of growth has happened and the volatility on the way up. But really, when you think about it, when you really look at this, we had the 2024 breakout to 10, then we gapped down with Jensen. Then there was absolutely washed out sentiment, then this explosion, then some sell down. And then we had this double gap, this huge move. And when you look at it, we really haven't had great buying opportunity for D-Wave under around $14 and a half since it made this move. And I know a lot of investors took profits and gave their shares up in this company. And now somebody else has those shares and they're getting these type of gains. And that's the really tricky thing about these stocks and why I'm holding onto my shares, even though I know it's going to be a bumpy ride. I think Tom Lee actually famously said that early in the year, very early in the year, when I first started this channel. He said, there's no reason investors need to sit out quantum stocks, even though they're likely to be a bumpy ride. And we absolutely have seen the bumpiness, but the trend has clearly been up. And the thing with D-Wave is D-Wave has a ton of catalysts potentially left in 2025. We don't know what the reason for the Japan qubits conference was. Is there an institution, a company, or a legislative body over in their growing market in Japan and South Korea that's interested in buying another machine? Are they going to make a new partnership? Are they going to announce something exciting? Are they going to make another system sale? Are they going to contract with the US government? There are so many possibilities with D-Wave still in 2025 that I think they have potentially more catalysts than even Rigetti. So as much as these stocks have already moved, this could just be the beginning. It could be. Now, that being said, we have had sharp sell-off before. We've lost in quantum before. We've lost 65% of value in one day. So just keep that in mind that these are volatile stocks and you must do your own risk assessment and risk management when it comes to this. Okay, SEALSQ. So SEALSQ is another one that I know that a lot of my channel members in the Discord were growing frustrated with. And I was okay, just kind of nibbling, knowing that eventually the story for SEALSQ is going to play out. And I actually reached out to Carlos, the CEO, and I requested he come on the Quantum Bull for an interview. So if you would be interested in hearing from Carlos of SEALSQ, leave a comment. I'll send him the comments if we start setting that up. But if we take a look recently at SEALSQ, ticker jumped to about $11. And if we go back even further, the all-time high was $28 a share. So really, the key level that SEALSQ needs to get through. It's right on the doorstep of it. It just needs to get through this 5. And then there's a lot of potential upside without any recent resistances. And if we actually hear this mandate from the US government, this executive order on quantum cybersecurity, SEALSQ could play a big role in that, especially if they get a foundry in the US or make some sort of partnership with a big tech company. Who knows? So I'm positioned in SEALSQ and I'm loving this recent price action. Of course, it's been a volatile stock. Got to do your own research. Okay, in Arqit Quantum, last stock of the day, this is also a quantum cybersecurity stock, except that they have a partnership with Oracle. And this stock could be purchased in November of 2024 for $10 a share, and today it's trading at $44 a share. It has been one of the most volatile quantum stocks, and that's saying something. Sharp sell-off and sharp spikes. And recently, with the euphoria of the quantum industry, it's been moving back up. 52 and 50 would be levels to keep on watch, as if it's able to break over, then we could see additional upside with ARQQ. What a week. Congratulations to all of you who invest in quantum stocks. If you're new to this channel, or if you're new to investing, or if you're new to investing in quantum stocks, I always tell people, take a look at the QTUM Defiance Quantum ETF. This is an ETF that has all of these stocks, but one very important thing is you won't have the exposure to a single stock. So if one stock does really poorly, you're more investing in the sector when you buy QTUM. So anyway, with that being said, everyone have a great weekend. We'll see you in the next one. I hope you really enjoyed that content. If you would like to support the YouTube channel and the website, thequantumbull.com, I have 3 different membership options. I have the Quantum Bull, which starts at $4.99 a month, and you get members only videos and polls. The Golden Bull, which gets you access to our Discord, where we talk about trades. I share my buys and sells. I provide trade alerts, and we talk about all kinds of different stocks. To join, just click subscribe, the plus button by the subscribe, and you'll get a prompt and you can choose which level is best for you.